The scene is set at the One-Eyed Dog bookstore, the property of and haven of Jacob Crowley, the primogen of the Toreador in New Sarum. He is in his office, has actually just finished speaking to one Tremere Jason Cadwell, and following the discussion, has allowed himself to become somewhat lost in thought. He remains there where, if one were to inquire, they could find him more or less easily enough.
Mm-hmm. At this point, you hear a knock on the office door, or Jacob hears a knock on his office door. You know, just waiting for people to come in.
He just calls, "Come in."
At this point, the door opens and two people walk in, which kind of just so this way we can see who they look like. You see an MMA fighter who is that kind of looks a lot like that, and just so I can pull up the other one so people can see what he looks like. Where is that other photo? Here we go. You see a. Just going to flip over his photos. You see a sort of tech guy, a sort of nerdish tech-looking guy who looks like that, like the photo and like the guy in that photo. And now I will re-switch back to the MMA fighter who's doing most of the speaking for this. Where are we? Here we go. Sorry, these changing things are always a pain in the rear. Yes, as you see the two in, the ghoul, the MMA fighter, who is a ghoul, walks in, promptly does a bit of a bow to you, to Jacob, and offers his hand and says, "Hello, I'm Bob. I'm Joseph Zwingy's ghoul. The two of us have come because we were told by Calliope to speak to you on a given issue."
Jacob will nod. He will not accept the hand, but he will wave a hand towards the door. You'll see that the woman who let them in was just on the verge of peeking in, but at the hand motion from Jacob, nods, closes the door, and goes back to the front counter.
Yeah.
Calliope, you say?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Yes. There has been an incident at the Looking Glass Cabaret, and we were told to come speak to you.
Incidents do happen, as unfortunate as that may be. If you are coming here and not Guthrie himself, I'm assuming he's either very busy or some other way indisposed. Could you enlighten me as to which it is?
Yes. Well, you should probably start at the beginning of the incident, partly based on what happened and what he had told us, which started this whole thing. Last night, as we were moving into the Looking Glass Cabaret, our master told us that he had walked in on a conversation with yourself and Miss Calliope, and he thought he had heard her talking about going on a rampage killing spree of Kine. As he was initially concerned that this might be a breach of the masquerade, he browbeat us, much to our objections, about hacking into her security system to find out if that she actually was, and to try to gather evidence in the event she actually was going to breach the masquerade. We got caught. He and in the process of this, he lost his cool. And when we say lost his cool, he basically he admitted what happened, genuinely apparently believed something about her being a breach of the masquerade, and frenzied on her. He is now in torpor, and we can't wake him up. We spoke to her recently. I personally spoke to her over the phone just a couple of hours ago. She has said that she is willing to forgive the matter if we are willing to owe her a hefty boon, because in her showing mercy to our master. We have agreed on his behalf. He is indisposed because, as we have said, he is torpid. We have given him blood. He will not come out of it, and she told us to come speak to you because of the fact that in his indisposed state right now, he cannot introduce himself to the prince and therefore would be in violation of another tradition. So we are asking, what is the appropriate course of action at this point?
Jacob just frowns and half glares over at the two of them. Your master needs to work on his eavesdropping skills. She is not in danger of going on a killing spree, as he was mentioned. We were discussing the intricacies of controlling and channeling one's beast so as not to have it consume one. When you are one of us and you spend most of your time playing around humans, it comes up now and then. Jacob just runs a hand across his brow, sighs, shaking his head. And so, he's in torpor and he will not wake up. Meaning, I have to presume that she did not stake him, but rather she put him down quite forcefully. Would this be accurate?
She literally wrapped around him and bit him 2 or 3 times, and then he just dropped.
That's my girl. Well then, first off, he will not be waking until he comes out of it naturally. Continue giving him blood naturally so that he does not wither away, but expect that it will take some time. It varies from vampire to vampire. As for the political matters, in this circumstance, it is understandable that you do not want to cart about a helpless form. So, I will permit you to make his introductions on his behalf. However, that is going to come with its own price.
I understand. We already owe a boon to Calliope for the transgression that he caused. I'm presuming we will also owe you one, of course, in the same way.
You're correct. His will be easily payable to me. I already have a matter that I want him to look into. Once he has risen, simply see that he contacts me immediately so that I can direct him towards it. His particular skills would be useful.
Understood. We will have that with him forthwith as soon as he finally wakes up. You see Bob, the MMA fighter, grimace a little bit, but basically, but the implication is that he's not grimacing at you. He's actually grimacing at his own master for having broken his. Do you have Auspex 4 by any chance? Like, can you read into his mind?
Yes, he can read into minds if he chooses to. I was actually just about to ask.
Just tap into his mind. Tap into his mind, and you'll see what's going on in there. And this is actually going to reveal a bit of backstory that you're actually going to see in a second.
What is his willpower?
He's a willpower. I think he's like a willpower 3 or 2. Either way, you're in.
Oh, jeez. That means I can pluck through pretty much everything in his mind.
Well, yeah. So now, as you go into his mind, like he's a mortal willpower, like, and he's not that bright, so his willpower is actually a little low. But what you see in his mind is a backstory. You actually see flashing images of not only of stuff that. Hang on, I gotta get a. Can we pause right here? I gotta go get a pizza delivery. 1 second.
Go right ahead.
Don't stop broadcasting. Just tell a joke or something in the meantime. Hello. Yep, buzzing you up. Sorry about this. Bad timing for the pizza guy to show up. Be right there.
Man must eat.
I'll tell you in a sec what you see in his mind. Just take this as time that Jacob's kind of perusing through his mind, and then I'll show you what you see in the process.
No problem.
Dum dum dee dee dum. Well, where's the pizza guy? I need to be able to get this done so I can get back to game.
And as we have Jacob filing away through his memories.
In the process, you see some rather funny. You actually see how he gets turned into a ghoul. The very last image that he has before he became a ghoul was that as he's actually a professional MMA fighter, was one of the top of his round, but was openly homosexual. And because of that fact, he was beaten by a bunch of fundamentalist Christians. The next thing he knows, he's coming to, Joseph having brought him back as a ghoul in order to save his life. And there's other things that you're going to see in the process of Bob's backstory. Hang on.
It's good to know that Bob has a nice, interesting realm behind his mind. Sites.
Yeah, sorry, I'll show you in a sec. I'll tell you the rest in a sec. Sorry, I've got someone on the phone.
No problem.
All the Google Hangouts, like a recordable, and so it was like, literally quick. It was literally just I was about to, just as I was about to reveal what the other character was supposed to be reading in my character's mind. Literally, the phone goes off, and I'm like, "You see, Buzz." Thank you. Thanks. I gotta move this stuff so I can get back to. Okay. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. Back to the scene. Okay, so where was I? Oh, yes. So anyway, amongst the things... Are you still there?
I am still here, yes. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no. Okay, so anyway, you see literally most of Bob's backstory in his time in the past 10 years or so as Joseph's ghoul. You see him that after getting beaten up outside a bar, by a bunch of fundamentalist Christians who are telling him things like, like fag, you're going to hell, that kind of thing. That as he's woken up, that when he comes to, there's literally Joseph and Michael over him, and he explains it as a ghoul. You also see him having carried most of the heavy camera stuff to set up, or most of the equipment to set up. So this way they had the recording equipment for times for multiple times, including in the most recent Sedite incident, where they were sitting out in a van outside the building while Joseph risked his life to go inside and expose the Sedite from Charleston, South Carolina. You also see two incidents of when two other incidents in the past 5 years of when Joseph actually had a similar incident and actually lost his cool. He frenzied on a person because he genuinely thought that they were about to breach the masquerade. In both cases, the issue was resolved and it was understood. In the second case, it turned out that the frenzy. It turned out that the second person later was in fact to be actually not a breacher of the masquerade, but in fact having been conspiring to overthrow a prince in a local town in Georgia. So so it turns out that in that case, that the character frenzying, while it nearly almost damaged the case against this particular kindred, the case was still vindicated nonetheless. So basically, you see, you see that the grimace in Bob's mind is that what he's thinking at the surface, with all of these memories flashing through his head, is when it's like, damn it, Joseph's gone. Joseph is going loco because of the spirit haunting him, and I'm gonna and when he gets up, I am still gonna deck him, because of the fact that he's broken his own rules again. And so basically, you're hearing these thoughts in his mind that he's grimacing at his own master. It's like, God dang it, why won't this guy, God dang it, can't this guy keep it under control? It's like, yes, he's doing great work, but he's getting too fucking paranoid and he's starting to jeopardize everything we've worked towards. So yeah, this is basically really reading in Bob's mind.
He's trying to keep a straight face, but he really doesn't succeed all that well. He's all too amused by what he sees in there. It's a classic example of a good person carried to bad lengths by an overpowering drive to do good. And it just entertains him so fully that his demeanor relaxes. He looks from the MMA fighter, the ghoul, over to what he can only assume is the blood doll that was mentioned before. He doesn't quite attribute the man here.
And you can either read his mind or whatever you want to do, and I'll switch up images so this way we can see through your eyes as to who you're looking at.
Sure. He's not going to read this one's mind, but he is just interestedly taking him in, and once he's done that, so you would be the one who was meddling with the power systems. Is that right?
Yeah, that's me.
You did a good job with it, I noticed.
Yeah, well, I was my story. Please understand, Mr. Crowley, Master Crowley. We don't want our benefactor dying. I mean, he's been like a father to me for the past 15 years. I was a kid when I lost my mom to a damn faith healer who was claiming a connection with God, but was just some huckster trying to steal money. My master exposed the man, got him brought up on fraud charges, and he's serving time for manslaughter against my mom right now. And I signed up with him because he's going to expose. He'll protect he'll protect us from bad vampires and he's bad kindred, and he's also exposing the real frauds out there who are taking advantage of and killing people left and right in the name of their own, lining their own pocketbook, lining their own wallets.
I see. Good man. And he's taking good care of you all as well. You needn't worry. I have no intention of taking his unlife. That would be a violation of the sex tradition, after all.
We're just wondering, though. Since we're all lowly retainers, and you guys are, the magnificent vampires and the like, we're a little concerned about that. If we're trying to go in and introduce our master on his behalf, we're just two lowly humans. How are we going to get in to see the prince?
Well, that is the simplest matter to answer. I know the prince personally. I will take the time to introduce you to. Do either of you have? In fact, you need not worry about that. You will stay here until such a time as I go to the Prince's Elysium, and you will go with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Master. We're really sorry about we're really dang sorry about all this mess. We still consider that the whole problem was mostly our fault. I mean, if we had succeeded in not allowing if we had not allowed Joseph to browbeat us into hacking in on her, and we did try to say to him that he was just being paranoid, but he wouldn't listen. So I mean, if we had convinced him better, maybe none of this would ever happen. We could have avoided this whole mess.
See how good Jacob's going to do on this one. I'm going to roll this just for fun. Manipulation, empathy. 1, 2. -2 for the voice, and oh, all right, great.
Okay.
Let me give a second to catch up because this page I just opened is trying to kill me. There we go. All right. So Jacob is going to very calmly, very soothingly, with the full extent of his enchanting voice.
And now you're getting your phone.
Yeah, well, I don't have to answer that one, thankfully. I know the thing I'm looking for.
Yeah. Minor awkward is there. How good they put the garlic toast in. That'll be my starting.
And so you'll just say, you needn't worry so much. After all, you are his. And there's only so much you can do to sway the one who's brought you to him, especially not with what you owe him. He is impulsive, but his heart, such as it is in the right place, and that is mostly what will save him from the worst of his mistake.
The worst part is, begging your pardon, Master, but the worst part of it is the fact that our Master, we've seen conversations where he's talking to a voice, and we actually hear the name of I mean, he's told us before that the ghost of that young Romanian girl that he failed all those years ago when he first got embraced is the word you call it. He says he's still haunted by her day in and day out. He part of the reason he's so driven is that she just won't shut up in his head. Like he's a man possessed trying to make up for some fault he did in the long trying to make up for that one mistake all those years ago.
Interesting. Well, as long as his demeanor and his focus are on protecting the masquerade, it's more or less his personal business.
Yeah.
Aside from incidents like this.
We're just saying, if you want, we're willing to offer our lives in exchange for his, but he needs to be able to continue his work. Like he's doing brilliant stuff for us as well as for you guys. The way sorry, we don't mean to be so forthright, sir. We don't know our place. We forget our place.
Be at ease. As I said, we will not be taking his existence unless the prince for some reason decrees it. And seeing as how mistake has been made, mistake has been corrected, I doubt it's going to come to that. If it even does, I will remind him of with whom we are dealing. I do not think the final death is anywhere near this sort of travesty. It's just a horrid misunderstanding. We will clean it up, and you all need not worry about giving your own lives. Although, depending on the thirst of those present, you might end up giving up a drop or two of blood before you leave. But we'll see what happens.
Wow. I got no problem with that. I've been a blood doll to I've been a blood doll to Joseph for for the last 15 years, and any friend of my master's is a friend of mine.
Good. Well, outside you'll find a cafe area. You may have seen it as you entered. You may feel free to take any books off the shelves you like, so long as you either replace them or take them to the desk for them to be replaced. You may read them, or if you so desire, it is a bookstore after all, you may purchase.
Do you take at this point, actually Bob's going to speak up. Sorry, I need to actually switch in at this point, because this is actually I actually established this in previous scene, and I'd like to just toss this in. Call it a friendly gesture.
Go ahead.
Bob speaks up and says, "Just out of curiosity, does your bookstore take trades by any chance?"
Trades.
Well, specifically because I have a decent old edition of the complete works of Shakespeare that I often read, which helps me find solace. But if someone else call it as part of recompense for your hospitality, if this is something that would be interesting to line the shelves of your store, when we return to keep an eye on our master, we can easily bring the copy back and have it placed upon your shelves.
I would find such as most certainly going to evening out the payment for any stay and a decent amount of books. If you find anything on the shelves that you're interested in, just write down what they are so I can restock.
Certainly, but we'll wait until we've at least brought the copy of brought the edition in question, so that you yourself might peruse over it and make sure that it is it's one of the more valuable editions.
I appreciate that.
Then with that in mind, Michael and Bob both bow to you. Both bow to you, and say, if we will take our leave to stay in the cafe. We have Joseph's letter of introduction with us that he was to give to the prince himself. We wish, if it's all right, we may wish upon introduction, we wish to give it in his stead.
Jacob will stand up, and he will nod at a brief bow. That is acceptable. You all may wait outside, and within, he takes a moment to look at his watch. Next half hour, we will make our way.
Thank you. And you are too generous. And with that, the both of them give a deep bow and back their way out the door.
Once the door closes behind them, Jacob runs his hand down the front of his face, groans to himself, shakes his head. I really should have just stayed the night at Calliope's. He won't come out of the room for a few minutes, but when he does, he'll just essentially spend the majority of his time behind the cafe, talking, listening, letting the gossip from the girls and guys who work with him filter through his ears, and that's pretty much the way the scene will stay until they leave.
Mm-hmm.